Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to the 8th lecture of International Marketing subject. From today we are going to start to focus on a new topic in the subject area of International Marketing, that is the information requirements for making decisions in international marketing environment. Well, historically, managers have made multitude of decisions coming their way by the way of intuition. But in today's very complex business world, very fast-paced business world, intuition alone is not enough. Managers need to comprehend very complex situation on a very fast pace. So they need, in addition to their own intuition, they need support from information. But then the information requirements are also very varied, very vast. And to be able to get complete information about a situation, to be able to get completely correct information about a situation is theoretically possible, but practically impossible. So in addition to and information, well, there is always certain amount of speculation or ambiguity or unknown aspects. So in today's world, decision under what we can say is bounded rationality. That in any decision making, they rely to some extent on their own intuition, and then they have to rely to a certain extent on information that can be available, that it is correct, that's valid, and also they have to then rely on speculations given some of the unknown factors. So in today's world, managers are making decisions under the situation of bounded rationality. But then objective of every manager should be to comprehend the situation as much as possible through information, so that the chances that the manager makes correct decisions are increased. Hence the importance of seeking information about the environment, about the issues relevant to the decision to be made. Another aspect about decision making which we should understand is that as a human, managers are often experienced, they are often good in making correct decisions. Even from infancy, people start to make decisions in their life, and by the time they grow up towards their working life, they have made multitude of decisions. So a lot of experience in making decisions. So the real problem is that the managers are making correct decisions for wrong problems they could not understand, perhaps because the information they got was not correct, or they were not able to get appropriate information for the decision making they really were interested with. So in order to improve decision making in any situation, I think it's paramount that the capability of firms and capability of managers to seek information should be enhanced. Doing business is a complex affair, but doing business in international markets, especially when the number of markets are more, becomes much more complex, and hence it is even more critical, even more necessary for businesses and for managers to enhance their capabilities to seek information for decision making. Now that capability should not only be enhanced in seeking correct information about the aspect of these variables, but also be able to get information about many variables. Getting information is not an easy task, as perhaps many of us may think. To be able to get correct information, to be able to get timely information, to be able to get relevant information about economies, about political situation, well, one really needs to have access to the sources of information. Now there can be restrictions, there can be problems in having access to this type of information in various markets. Again, if information is needed about human perceptions, behaviors, needs, wants, preferences, well, that information has to be sought from individuals. Again, not an easy thing, as perhaps many of us may think. I'll give you a very small example. We are often very reluctant to tell anybody about our personal liking, disliking, about personal preferences, personal situation. And for making marketing decisions, real marketers really have to understand the needs and how these needs are manifested into wants. But that information is often very personal to individuals. If we want this type of very personal information, and we want to seek this information from a large number of people, perhaps one instrument is the survey. And if somebody is just standing on the road, on a busy thoroughfare, and a respondent is passing by, and respondent is not really acquainted with this researcher, is not anticipating that somebody will be there blocking the way and trying to ask questions. And if suddenly somebody starts to ask questions about matters which are very personal to an individual, the individual will be very reluctant to give an answer. Well, I'll be very reluctant to give anybody information about my personal choices and the way I think and how I make choices of products, how I spend my life, how I spend my income, what sort of income I have, where I live, what are my personal likings, what are my personal dislikings. Now, these are type of very inner information, very personal, very intimate information. I will be very reluctant to divulge this information to especially somebody I don't know. And especially when I don't know what use this information will be put to. In particular, if for that response somebody is also seeking my identity and background, so that I'll be identified. I don't know about that person who is seeking information from me, but that person, by conducting the survey about my personal preferences, choices, and backgrounds, knows now a lot about me. That is something I'll be very uncomfortable with. The situation is when such responses, such surveys are conducted in international markets. It may seem very innocent on paper that, well, we need information about personal choices and we need information about personal preferences. But to get this information is a hell lot difficult process. Now, as an individual also, like many other individuals, I may tend to have my own biases, depending on the type of person who is asking the question, the type of situation in which I'm asked the question. And research has really confirmed that as soon as people realize that there is some attention towards them, they alter their behaviors. If as a respondent I know that somebody is observing me or somebody wants to seek information from me, now I'm a more cautious person, a more careful person. Very often I may not want to give correct information, or I may misguide in the information I would give for any survey if it is particularly concerning my personal background and my personal choices and preferences. Inherent in such surveys and information seeking processes are the bias. I may unintentionally give a wrong information if I am unable to understand the question. Often is the case when surveys are conducted in foreign markets. So, issue of translation. So, to be able to get correct information is not an easy proposition. It's really not an easy proposition. So, very sophisticated, comprehensive capabilities and skills are really required before marketers can really claim that they have the capability and the capacity to seek appropriate, timely, and comprehensive information about their marketing environments pertaining to the decisions they have to make. So, really, we are going to devote a lot of time in this subject, on this topic, because that's where a marketing effort is made or is defeated. If a marketer is able to comprehensively, consistently get correct information, then the capacity and capability of that marketing manager, that firm, to make correct decisions is enhanced. And if the firm and the manager are unable to get correct information, comprehensive information, then their capacity to make correct decisions is really hampered. So that's where more of the time success and failure in international market is determined. So accordingly, we are going to depute sufficient time, sufficient number of lectures on this topic of international marketing information requirements. Now, before we proceed, we should also understand the difference between information seeking and conducting research. Well, we are familiar with the word research and as such with the word marketing research. Now, research is conducted towards seeking answers to a defined problem. So the problem has to be defined first, and then the problem would translate into the information requirements, the type of information that is needed to answer, to assess the problem, and then research is conducted to collect that information. So for research and for marketing research, a priority requirement is definition of a problem. But there is the trap. How often are we able to correctly define the problem? More often not. So in order to define the problem properly, we need information before that also. And then in today's time, when things are moving really very fast, there's shortened product life cycles, markets are very dynamic, they are very fluid. The information is required on a very fast pace, and companies have to act and react very, very quickly. So this is an ongoing process, rather than conducting research from time to time. So in fact, information is needed to understand the situation in real time, and organizations really need to develop their capacities and capabilities to sift that information very quickly and to be able to respond to that information very, very fast. So in modern times, more than the ability of conducting research, organizations need the ability to link themselves to the environment through a real-time system, a marketing information system. The sort of system which continuously seek information on important variable or aspects from the marketplace. The information is continuously being analyzed, converted into managerial reports, reports presented to the decision makers, and correct and timely decisions being made. In today's time, it is more important for managers to determine where the business has to go in future, why it has to go into that direction, and less important is to how it is going to get there. How is the question that is answered by marketing research. So to be able to successfully survive and prosper and progress and grow in today's very complex, very competitive, and very diverse business environments, the marketing research must really be driven by marketing intelligence and marketing information. So that's the way for firms to succeed. Now, when we come to information, we can take one example as to the various levels at which we really need to gather information. But we understand foreign exchange, if we are dealing with other markets, the issue of exchange rate is always very critical. in making marketing decisions, in translating profits back into home country account sheets, balance sheets, income statements. So to be able to know the scenario of exchange rates is very, very critical in international marketing affairs. But then marketers also need to know what are the numerous factors that affect exchange rates, and then what are the possible scenarios of exchange rates in short term to long term, and then how these different scenarios of exchange rates are going to affect business decisions or marketing decisions. So in any area, the information is required at 3 levels. What are the primary variables that affect a certain scenario, exchange rate scenario, or a political environment, or a legal environment, or any other environment? And what are the possibilities of those environments? That's the second level of information that is needed. And a third level of information is again needed, how these environments are going to affect marketing decisions. So really, in this topic area, we are going to discuss the information requirements at 3 levels. At the level of primary information, that how a vast array of primary aspects affects various scenarios. And then we are going to discuss how to seek information and what information that is relevant to international marketing. At the second level, that how various political scenarios, very competitive scenarios are possible. And then the third level, how these various scenarios affect the business decision and marketing decisions. So first of all, we are going to briefly see the areas which are important for international marketers to seek information. Now there can be a very long list of these areas because businesses differ. There are technology businesses, non-technology businesses, businesses of producing and manufacturing goods. There are service businesses. So there are businesses in health sector, then there are businesses in legal services, in educational services. So there is a great diversity of businesses we are talking about, and of course great diversity of markets and situation in which they are operating, and again diversity of segments they are targeting to. So the list, if we really want to make a comprehensive list of variables and the areas in which information is, perhaps it's not possible. So in these lectures we'll try to comprehend as much as possible, but really we cannot claim that we are able to list or identify all the areas that might be relevant to every business or every type of business in every type of situation. So what really is important, that through these lectures and through this subject, we enhance the capability, the vision, and the resourcefulness of the managers, that they are able to comprehend the situation, they are able to assess the situation on their own, and they are able to identify the type of areas in which they really need information, and what type of information they need, and when they need that information, and how they have to use that information, and what type of decisions they have to make. So objective of these lectures are to enhance the capabilities of the managers, and not perhaps to be able to identify each and every area in which possibly any type of business in any situation may require information. So first we are going to briefly identify broad areas for information requirements, and then we will discuss some of these important areas in more detail. We will also try to analyze one export situation, that if a manager has to evaluate various markets for export business, then how that manager can use various types of information to evaluate appropriate markets for selling product through export markets. One of the more common and more important area for which marketers need information in foreign countries is pertaining to marketing mix. The areas pertaining to the product, its pricing, its place of distribution, information about promotion. So very commonly, international marketers need information on a continuous basis in order to make marketing mix decisions. In area of marketing mix, they need information if they have to make decisions to add products, to launch new products. Well, a lot of information is required to make such decisions. Information is also needed when managers have to delete products from product lines. They really need to assess the present situations of the product. They have also to assess future scenarios pertaining to the product and prospects and competition, so on and so forth. So managers need enormous amount of information before they can make correct decisions whether to delete or remove certain products from their existing product lines. Managers also need information when they have to introduce any change in their products. If they have to change some attributes or features of a product, or to delete some of the features of the product. We can take example of a car. Well, that is ever evolving product, ever evolving market. And if a car or a brand of car is being sold to many international markets, then every year new models have to be introduced, the old models have to be revamped, and new features and attributes need to be added. Everything costs money, and success and failures of new brands of cars will depend on what competitors are introducing, how market is behaving in terms of its preferences, and so on and so forth. And such information is very crucial to make correct decisions as to what type of features should be added in a future or a new model of a car, so as to ensure that that model is successful. And if that model is successful, well, enormous profitability is going to follow. And if any model of a car is not successful, well, then it's a very difficult situation for a firm, because to develop and design one model of a car may require hundreds of millions of dollars, huge sums of money. So the stakes are very high. So information requirements are really very, very important for adding or deleting features or changing product lines from time to time. And these changes are required to refresh the brands, to refresh the products. We have also discussed in our previous lectures, and perhaps we have discussed in your marketing subject area lectures, is the aspect of product life cycle. Every product or product line passes through what we call as an evolutionary cycle, a product life cycle, that there is an infancy stage, an inception stage, which is followed in case of successful products, which pass through a rapid growth stage, and then eventually market gradually move towards maturity, and then in many cases towards decline. So a lot of marketing decisions have to be changed as products and brands and industries are passing through these various stages of evolutionary product life cycle stages. The marketing decisions change, the pricing decisions change, the production decisions change. In our previous lecture in the product life cycle theory, we studied that even the manufacturing of product may be shifted from an industrialized country to a developing country because of the cost pressures as products move towards maturity stage. Hence, information about the life cycle stage of the product is absolutely critical. And there are various variables which really come together to define the correct product life cycle stage of a product. The competitors or a competitive situation, the experience of the customers, the maturity of the segments, the technology diffusion, and so on and so forth. So a number of factors, they come together and they are able to describe correctly what is the product life cycle stage of any one product. But then it's not a simple scenario, it is a complex scenario which I must really explain. That in today's modern time, it's not that a product is neatly passing through only one evolutionary cycle, that's a product life cycle. At the same time, there are many life cycles that are happening and coming together and affecting each other. It's the industry's life cycle. Industries are moving from infancy to growth to maturity and so on and so forth. And within those industries, the brands and the products are moving through their own evolutionary product life cycles. So when we are talking of product life cycles, we are talking of multiple product life cycles, not just one firm's product's life cycle, but the brand's life cycle, the industry's life cycle, because they all are intertwined and interlinked. So it's a far more complex scenario of product life cycles that we really have to comprehend for correct marketing decisions. Again, a lot of information is required for making appropriate marketing and sales campaigns, for making a correct advertisement, which is a communication. We really need to identify the target markets to start with, and we need to identify them correctly, because then target markets are going to help us to correctly decide what should be said, how it should be said, where it should be said, who will say it, and so on and so forth, a number of decisions. Again, to decide sales promotional campaigns, markets often go through their own seasonality cycles, which affect people and their purchase behaviors. So information is needed about seasonality of products and seasonality of markets. Information is needed about competitors and their advertising and communication programs. Information also needed about various contextual aspects, how people are going to respond and react to various contextual aspects, so that correct themes, correct context could be built in advertisements. Again, every learning is a memory recall, essentially. That whenever as an individual, as a human, we encounter a new experience, a new information, a new offer, a new communication, a new advertisement, in order to make an attitude about anything new, we are engaged in a process what we call as memory recall. That as a human, we recall our previous knowledge, previous information, and compare it with our new knowledge, new information. And then if need is felt, then the new information is stored alongside with previously learned information. So how the advertisements are going to be effective, or what themes are going to be effective, or what type of offer or message or promotion or incentive is really going to click to the customer, really depends on their memories, previous learned knowledge and schemas of information, how those learned informations are grouped together into knowledge schemas. So to effectively develop advertisements and programs, the marketers really need to know the memory structures, the previous knowledge, the previous perception, previous attitude, previous comprehensions of the target customers or consumers. So a wide range of information is required for marketing and sales programs. Again, a wide amount of information is needed for distribution channel selection, which is a very, very crucial aspect for success in international markets. It's of paramount importance that marketers are able to select correct distribution channels. Not only distribution channels affect sales and profitability of products and product lines, they also affect the image and the perception in the marketplace. And hence, the distribution channels is one of the crucial aspect of marketing mix, marketing strategy. Information is also needed about price and its relationship with demand. How price is going to impact purchase behavior, marketers need to know before they make correct pricing decisions. Whether if they increase the price too much, the target consumers are going to buy much less and going to affect the profitability, well, that's need to be known. If a price is reduced, whether the target customers are going to buy more of a product or not, to what extent the price should be reduced or to what extent the price should be increased, what the competition is doing in terms of setting prices, how target customers, consumers are spending their disposable incomes, how would their incomes be in near future to long-term future. All these aspects affect the response to price. Hence, marketers, in order to make correct pricing decisions, they really need to comprehend and really need to acquire a lot of information. Marketers also need to acquire a lot of information for profitability analysis. As we have discussed in our earlier lectures, the ultimate measure of value is the profitability to the firm in a free marketplace. When the consumers are really finding and feeling value in certain brand and certain product, they will buy it more at a higher price, at better margins, and eventually the firm will be able to achieve better profits and better profitability growth in future. So the ultimate measure of value in a value chain is the profit to the firm. So the marketers really need to evaluate the profitability aspects in each and every of their marketing decisions. They have to study the cost implications and the profit implications of every marketing decision. And to evaluate the profitability scenario, the marketers need information about buyer purchase behaviors, buying behaviors, information about competitors, information about costs, information about cost of production, cost of distribution, so on and so forth. So a whole range of information is required to correctly evaluate the profitability situation with respect to any marketing decision. So a lot of information is needed on a continuous basis in order to make correct marketing mix decisions. Very crucially, to succeed in international markets, the markets also need comprehensive and continuous and timely and accurate information about competitors. Who are the competitor firms? So information is needed to identify those firms, those corporates. How is the business of these firms? What sort of products they produce? How are they diversified? In what markets they operate? So clear information about the business of competitors is needed so that marketers can make their own decision correctly. Then functional level information about competitors is also needed. Then what is their strength in various functional areas? Because that's very, very crucial. In today's competitive world, the firms which are successful have to differentiate from others. And for differentiations, the firms need to do things differently or need to do different things. And these differences are really created in various functions, in marketing function, in production functions, in procurement function, in human resource functions, so on and so forth. So how competitors are differentiated, what are their capabilities to differentiate, is a crucial information. So marketers in international marketing need information about the functional aspects of competition businesses. We need to know about the strategies of the competitors, what strategies they are adopting, what strategies they can adopt, how effectively they are able to adopt various strategies, and so on and so forth, is absolutely critical for succeeding in international markets. Another area where information is essentially required is about market share, how the marketers' products are performing in the marketplace vis-a-vis competitors' products. What is the market share, whether market share is rising or shrinking or it's stable, is an information which is required on a continuous basis. We have also been discussing that when businesses start to operate in international markets, the exchange rate and foreign exchange information also becomes very, very crucial. How the foreign currencies are going to change in value is going to affect the prospect of international marketer. If a Pakistani firm, say for example, is in textile business, is also exporting to European Union, where euro is the currency, then the profitability of the firm, the prospects of the firm will be very much affected by the exchange rate between euro and Pakistani rupees. And the domestic currency, which is rupees, appreciates, and if its selling price does not increase, as the foreign buyer would want to buy in its domestic currency, then the profitability of the firm will go down because the domestic currency is going to be appreciated. But if reverse happens, that the euro appreciate vis-a-vis domestic currency, and if the firm is still able to achieve the same selling price in euro, then the profitability of the firm will be enhanced. So it's critical for firms to really be able to project how the currencies are going to fluctuate in terms of their rates, so that they can quote correct rates and they can ensure that they remain profitable, that they are not going to go into loss with any fluctuation in currencies. So the exchange rate information or foreign exchange information is essentially needed. There are a lot of variables which affect these exchange rates. Interest rate is one of them. Interest rate differentials, what is the interest rate in the buyer country and what is the interest rate in the home country, the differential between these two interest rates often is going to affect the exchange rate in future. If interest rate in certain market is higher compared to the interest rate in other market, it's quite likely that the domestic currency where the interest rate is relatively higher, the exchange or value of that currency will go down in future. So higher exchange rate pressurize the currency towards reducing the value of that currency. So it is critical that marketers are able to get information about the movements of interest rate in short term to long term. Again, marketers need information about not just exchange rate between one currency and another, they also need to get information about various other exchange rates, how perhaps euro is being exchanged vis-a-vis dollar, and how dollar is being exchanged vis-a-vis yen or Chinese yuan, because these major exchange rates or major currencies keep on influencing each other. So even if a market is only exporting to European Union, but still need to know information about other major currencies and exchange rate between euro and Pakistani rupee and other currencies, in order to really understand what can happen to profitability, what would happen to pricing, and how competitors in various countries are going to sort of respond to various changes in exchange rates. Another factor which really affects exchange is balance of payments. If a country has strong positive balance of payment, then there will be pressure on that currency to rise in terms of value. So marketers need information about balance of payment situation. If the balance of payment is in deficit, if a country is really buying more than it is able to sell to international markets, then this deficit will eventually force the currency of that country to depreciate in value. So the balance of payment situation is an early indicator of the direction currency of that country going to take in future. It's also important to know the attractiveness of currencies of various countries. There are times when, because of problems somewhere else, currencies of some countries become safe haven. In middle 90s, there was a problem in Far East. There were economic crises, financial crises, so currencies of many Far Eastern countries were really plummeting. They were going down. So many investors and those who are holding investment into currencies liquidated their holdings in currencies of Far Eastern countries, and then they moved towards safe havens of dollars and euros. So when safe haven, because of problem elsewhere, its price, its value would tend to increase. So international marketers really need to be careful and need to be informed about what is happening around the world vis-a-vis other markets, other economies, other situations, because anything happening in one corner of the world is going to affect every other major currency around the globe. The market also need to be sensitive to various opinions of important analysts around the world. There are people and personalities, there are journals which are considered to be very important in financial world. If the chairman of American Fed makes a statement about the situation of economy, the direction of interest rates or exchange rates, well, everybody is listening seriously to that comment and that information, and that affects the exchange rates and interest rates around the world. So marketers need to really keep an eye on these analysts and their opinions. Marketers also need a lot of information about market potential of products in various markets. So if a firm has to export or has to consider and evaluate world markets for exporting certain products, then needs to assess various world markets, markets of various countries, various regions, in terms of potential for a certain product and service in order to make correct decisions. So the firm need to make demand estimates that for a given price, given features, given attributes, and given values of offer, what would be the demand of the product in various markets. The marketers need to really understand consumer behavior, as we have been frequently discussing, and consumer behavior in return is driven by a lot of other factors. So how consumers are going to respond to various advertisement, communication, offers, various type of brands, various categories of products, and so on and so forth. That's extremely important for marketers to make correct marketing decisions. Marketers also need to review products, their own products, products of the competitors. They really need to assess whether the competitors' products are performing strongly or they're not able to fulfill the needs of the market in a appropriate way. So there are underfulfilled needs. That's needed to determine the potential of a firm's own products, own offers to the same market. Well, channels of distribution are extremely important, as we have been discussing again and again. So any potential of a product is critically also dependent on how the channel is going to respond to certain brand and product. If a channel is strong, a strong link with the buyers, and channel gets very much interested in a certain brand and product, then the potential for that product can be high. But if the channel is not interested or does not have a capability and a capacity to effectively distribute a certain product, then there can be a problem in terms of potential for that product. Prospects of a product are also critically dependent on the availability of the media. For consumer goods companies, the media is essentially needed, is very critical to establish brands, to communicate with customers, for sales and promotional programs, to introduce new products. And if in any market, in any country, the sophisticated media is not available, then it becomes really very difficult to achieve a good potential in terms of sales and brand building. So a lot of information required about the media, its vibrancy and its sophistication, and media's relationship with the target customers. That relationship need to be strong, that relationship need to be positive, because communication has to go through media. And if media's relationship with the target customer is not strong, is not on sophisticated lines, then it will be very difficult for firms to be able to rely on that media and to communicate strongly with the customers. Firms also need information about market performance, how market is performing. Sometimes markets are vibrant, they're expanding. Sometimes for whatever reasons, the markets are really not expanding. The market sentiments are poor. The market sentiments may be weak. So that also affects the potential of the products in the marketplace. So marketers really need on continuous basis lot of information about market potential of their product. Marketers also need lot of prospective information, how these laws affect various products. Well, laws, rules, regulations change from country to country. Those laws may affect consumption, may affect selling of a product. In some countries, there are laws about advertising and promotion also. So international marketers really need to know these laws. And in our following lecture, we will be really discussing in detail about the legal environment. Because it's very crucial to adhere to laws, to the regulation of a country, because that can very seriously affect the market potential and performance of firms in foreign markets. Then prospective information is also needed about various rulings concerning taxes. The tax rates may differ from market to market. In certain countries, the tax rate is different for domestic firms vis-a-vis foreign firms. The regulations may be different for repatriation of profits. So markets really need to know the regulations in each of the market they want to operate about taxes, about the ways in doing business. Then how they can retain the earnings, how they can repatriate the earnings, how they can utilize the earnings is also crucial. In certain markets, it's free, it's easy to repatriate earnings, but in certain other markets, it may be more complex, may be regulated. So it is of paramount importance that marketers have this very clear information about taxes, rules, regulations, and regulation pertaining to earnings and their remittances and their repatriations. Marketers also need to know the rules and regulations about dividends and their payments in the host countries. So there are a whole range of rules and regulations that might affect, which marketers really need to know in order to successfully operate in various markets. And as they are operating in many world markets, well, they need to precisely know these situations in every market they want to operate. Marketers also need information about resources, availability of human resources. There are many examples where firms, successful firms, have gone to operate in certain markets, they have invested, but they were unable to find appropriate human resources, and hence they were not successful. Information is also needed about financial resources. Well, in certain countries, the foreigners are not allowed to borrow from local banks. Information is also needed about physical resources, distribution, warehousing, transportation. So resource information is again a critical information which marketers need in order to make correct decisions. Marketers also need a lot of information about other general factors, social cultural factors. Well, culture affects the way businesses are done, and culture really affects cultural products more than any other type of products. Political environments affect. In some countries, the politics is stable, the governments are stable, but in other countries, they are not stable. So marketers need more accurate, more precise information about the political environments. Marketers also need information about technological environments. In many areas now, technologies are changing very, very rapidly in world market. And new developments can render old products, old technologies useless. So to make correct decisions, to invest into certain product lines, product categories, into certain markets, well, marketers really need to have more precise, more clear, more comprehensive information about various technology developments in various areas of the world. This is not a comprehensive, exhaustive list that we are talking about. It's just an idea as to the extensive variety and diversity of information that is needed for making correct marketing decisions. And it requires exceptional capability to be able to comprehend and to be able to collect this information. We'll continue discussing this topic in our coming lectures. Thank you for attending today's lecture. Allah Hafiz.